The Love Talk Show on Liberty Radio.
Blaming others for one's problems is a common habit, but this is also a habit that can lead to negative consequences. When individuals constantly place the blame on others, they fail to take responsibility for their own actions and to learn from these experiences. This can lead to a lack of personal growth and the inability to make positive changes in life. Examples of celebrities who have experienced the negative effects of blaming others for their problems include Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan. Both of them were once at the top of their careers, but their lives took a downward turn when they began to blame others for their personal and professional struggles. In 2007, singer Britney Spears started exhibiting unstable behavior after her divorce from Kevin Federline was finalized and she lost custody of their 2 children. She made headlines for dramatic acts such as shaving her head and attacking a photographer's car with an umbrella. In 2008, she was taken to the hospital for psychiatric evaluation on 2 occasions, including an incident in which she refused to give up her sons, leading to a standoff with the police. This has also led to multiple stints in rehab. As a result of these events, she was placed under her father's conservatorship. A conservatorship is a legal arrangement where a guardian is appointed to manage the personal and financial affairs of an individual who is unable to do so themselves. Spears blamed her mother for the conservatorship. Although the court deemed her incapable of running her own life, Spears continued to release albums and perform in the years after. 13 years later, Spears won a restoration to her independence when a judge ruled for the end of her conservatorship that controlled her life. Spears continues to be vocal against those who were complicit in her conservatorship. It still blows my mind every day I wake up as to how my family and the conservatorship were able to do what they did to me. In 2022, Spears released her first single after her conservatorship was terminated in a duet with Elton John. In addition, once free from the arrangement, she was able to marry her long-term actor and model partner, Sam Asghari, in 2022. Actress and singer Lindsay Lohan has also faced numerous personal struggles and controversies throughout her career. Despite her early success, she has struggled with substance abuse and legal issues and has been in the media for incidents involving erratic behavior. At various points in her life, Lindsay has faced criticism for blaming others for her problems rather than taking personal responsibility. From 2007 to 2012, Lindsay appeared in court more than 20 times over substance misuse. In 2013, speaking to Piers Morgan for the Daily Mail, Lindsay spoke about her first arrest. And from then on, the press were on me all the time. It was the first time I'd taken drugs. I was out in a club with people I shouldn't have been with and took cocaine and got in the car. It was so stupid. In another interview, Lindsay blames loneliness, sycophants, and a toxic romance she had for the 6 arrests, the 5 times in rehab, and the time spent in jail. Her criminal record and alleged habitual lack of professionalism made it challenging for her to secure employment in the Hollywood industry for a long time. Lindsay recently got back to acting and starred in a Netflix movie, her biggest job following the tumultuous years. In 2022, Lindsay announced the news about her marriage to Bader Shammas. Blaming others for your own faults will not lead to a positive resolution. Taking responsibility for your actions and seeking ways for improvement is the more productive approach that can lead to personal growth and success. This and more is what you will learn on tonight's program.
Well, blaming others is not going to lead you anywhere. The problem with blaming other people for your own failures is that takes out the responsibility that should be yours. The person who blames others, they have this mindset that they are victims, that there is nothing they can do to change their own situation. And it makes them remain the same problem, never change, never better themselves. That's the problem when you blame other people, when you rely on a victim mentality, is that your life never gets better. You never learn from your own mistakes, because in your world, in your mind, everyone is to blame. And honestly, you can always find someone to blame. You can always find an excuse. There are plenty of things out there that you can blame. You can blame your boss, you can blame your spouse, you can blame the school you went to, you can blame your parents, the way they educated you. You can blame the country where you were born, the governments there. You can blame so much things. And it's so easier, isn't it, to blame other people than to say, I am the problem. I need to make better decisions. I need to change. I'm not perfect. Yes, I'm full of faults. And I need to change. It's much easier just to throw the ball to someone else to deal with, isn't it? That's why many people, they blame others. Well, let's go for the streets right now. I'd like to know what people are saying on the streets. What's the word on the street when it comes to this? And then when we come back, we are going to review the key to overcome this blaming game and bless your love life. Let's go for this interview.
Men are trash. Women are crazy. These are some of the statements that we hear when it comes to assigning blame. But is it really that simple? Is one party ever always in the wrong? Let's find out what the word on the street is today. Do you think it's easier for a person in a relationship to blame their partner rather than take ownership of their mistakes and try to change?
I think it is. I think it's definitely easier. And sometimes you don't want to admit your own wrongs. So sometimes it's just easier. It's not good, but it's easier to blame the other person. You need to work on yourself, because if you're blaming someone for your actions, that's not good. You're projecting something onto someone else. So I think that's going to cause toxicity in the relationship. So there won't be a good relationship after a while if you keep doing that. So it is easier, but it's not the right way.
Sometimes. It all depends on the situation.
Probably. Yes, I would say so. People like to blame other people. They don't like to think that it's themselves that's in the wrong.
I think people feel better about themselves if they can pass the blame on someone else. I think that works in a lot of aspects of life.
Yeah, I think it can be. It can definitely happen if a person is unable to look inwardly, and it can happen, I think, sometimes out of fear, or if you haven't processed your own trauma and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it can happen for sure.
And why do you think some people do this?
Because people are still healing. As I said, some people have gone through trauma, and it's very easy to kind of squish things down instead of going to therapy or trying to talk about it with people.
I think some internal issues, some trauma from before, and not being able to take ownership for their own actions. So they've always done it in the past, maybe in childhood, not being able to deal with issues and, taking ownership for their own actions. So as you get older, you just keep doing it and then projecting it on your partner.
Some people have trust issues, some people have other issues. We can't exactly say why, but some people have their own things to deal with.
And so let's put a scenario now. So say you're meeting your partner for dinner or for a date and they're running late. Would you think this person doesn't care about you? Or would you think, wow, traffic must be awful today?
Traffic must be awful. I don't know. I'm not the type to say things before it actually happens.
I think it's lazy. I think it's poor show if you can't turn up on time or at least be early to something like that. That's straight up. I'm just not interested.
I think the latter, traffic must be awful. And I think the partner that I would be with or whatever, he would communicate, because communication is important. So at least say to me, okay, there's traffic on the road, I'm running late. I wouldn't be blaming him or anything.
I'll probably say he's just got caught up in something and traffic's probably bad. Yeah, I'd probably give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, if it was me, I would probably try and put my own preconceptions aside and be like, well, there's probably another reason. I guess if you were someone else maybe that had, again, a lot of trauma, maybe you would jump to the first thing that would be like, this is all because of me and my fault. But yeah, I would probably try and think positive.
So we've heard what the public has to say about this topic. What about you? What do you think about it? For more, tune in tonight to the Love Talk Show at 11 p.m. on libertyradio.co.uk.
It's your fault. I don't need you. Men are trash. Women are crazy. You know, this game of blaming others, blaming things, blaming your parents, blaming the government, blaming the economy, blaming the city where you live, blaming where you come from, your country of origin. I don't know. Putting the blame on something for your failures, this is useless, okay? So, blaming each other in a relationship, especially in a relationship, it's a useless exercise. If you want to destroy your relationship, just start blaming each other for all your troubles, all your mistakes. Blame each other, blame each other for your own unhappiness, your own frustrations. This is useless. It's not going to lead you anywhere. It's going to make you end up alone, okay? Pastor, what is the right approach? Understand the problems you are facing, okay? Try to understand the problem that each one brings is the right path to a healthy relationship. So, what you do when you have a problem in a relationship, you separate the person from the problem, okay? The problem is not the person. You separate the problem from the person. Okay, let's deal with this situation, this problem here. Of course, like the lady said, and we taught you last Friday, you need to know how to communicate in a gentle way, respectful way, separating the person from the problem. You talk about the problem. You're not talking about your spouse. You're not talking about your husband, your wife. And you need to have the right approach, the right time. You need to have these communications skills that we already spoke about last Friday. Okay? And when you're taking criticism, don't take it personal. We are talking about this problem. Don't take it personal. Don't always be on the defensive. Don't be insecure. And every time your partner wants to talk about something, you take it personally. You take it like a personal attack. No. Be open. Be open. Of course, we need to know how to communicate things without offending, but we also need to learn how to take criticism, how to not be defensive or insecure. Just hear what the person has to say, okay? And both of you figure out what you're going to do about this problem, okay? So, the next one, when you resolve personal problems, you also resolve relational problems, okay? So you work on yourself. Look, nobody's perfect. We always learning, isn't it? We always learning. You know, if you take a photograph of yourself from 10 years ago, you will see how much you have evolved, how much you have grown, how much you have learned, how inexperienced you were back then. How many times we wish we could go back in time and we would do everything differently. Am I right? Have you ever dreamed like you could go back in time and done everything differently if you had the knowledge that you have today, the intelligence, the experience you have today? We're always learning. It's not a problem. Everyone has faults, okay? So, when you resolve personal problems, when you work on yourself, you are better your relationship. You are making your relationship better. If you are single and you stop blaming others and you work on yourself, you recognize your mistakes, you take on criticism from friends, from the pastor, the group leader, and you start growing, that's a healthy exercise. That's going to bless you. That's going to prepare you for a future relationship where You're going to have to better yourself every day. We need to better ourselves every single day. You know what doesn't make people get better? You know what is that makes people blame each other? There's something called pride. Pride is what prevents us from sin and what makes us blame others for our own mistakes. It's pride. So, deep down, the root of this problem of blaming others, never being able to see your own mistakes. You see everybody else's mistake, but your own. The problem is with pride. Pride makes you blind. Pride impedes you from getting better, from learning. Because for you to learn, you need to be humble. For you to learn, you must recognize that you don't know everything. For you to fix something, you need to accept that there is something broken, isn't it? And pride doesn't let people get better. Pride doesn't let people do this, okay? What's the result? What happens when you blame other people, when you're proud, when you're always defensive, you don't know how to take criticism, you don't know how to communicate to others. You know what happens? Failure. Failure in relationship, loneliness are the results of this pride. Okay? Failure in the relationship, if you have a relationship, it fails if there is no humbleness. And if you're single, you remain away because nobody wants to be with someone who is proud, who is always playing the blame game. Okay? Look at that, loneliness. No one can be with someone who blames others, only complains about life, and does not see their own mistake.
The Love Talk Show on Liberty Radio.